It's time for the Josh Kirby on Sports Podcast.
Shout out Q.
Oh, indeed. I'm glad you connected. This is Dave Johnson, voice of the Washington Wizards. You have connected to the right place because you are listening to my man, Josh Kirby, on Sports Podcast.
Coming to you from the Trumbull Insurance Agency virtual studio. Turn your stress and anxiety into peace and security with Trumbull Insurance. Contact Patrick Van Kemper for all your insurance needs at 540-532-0622. We'd like to thank our other sponsors, including Regroup Building Services, PM Plus Reserves, Shenandoah Primitives, and Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate. Well, Josh is not here today, Carlos. So,
oh my God, he's not here.
The Swiss Army knife, Carlos Martinez, is my lead contributor today. There we go. You like that? And
finally,
co-host.
I get an official title, not just a nickname, a title.
And I am the weapon, Dan Dembski, and it is an honor and privilege to celebrate today for Mr. Carlos. Carlos, it was a big weekend for you, man. Take it away.
Listen, I know people are thinking that I'm going to come in here, brag and be grandiose and have a huge celebration, but I want to take a moment and be a little humble here. You know, it's been a long season and we beat the brakes off of Washington. So out of respect, I just like to say to Washington, screw you guys. The champs are here. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Champs, baby. Champions! Yes! Let the streamers fly! Yeah! Let's go! And give me the belt! Give me the belt!
Oh!
Let's go! The champs are here! I told y'all the world is right. Washington is dead. Their reign is over. The real champions have retaken the throne. I have streamers all over me. Oh, good Lord, have mercy.
Crank up that music, bro. Come on.
Oh, that's about it. That's all I got in me.
I love the belt. That's a great touch for sure, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know what? And the nice thing for Dallas, you all won it before you even had to play on Sunday.
True, but us
your
as
win
Dallas fans.
And your dominating win made it that much sweeter. Absolutely.
It made it sweeter that it was against Washington. Oh,
yeah.
man.
And after all you guys went through last season, with all the injuries, COVID and stuff like that, you guys were absolutely decimated. So what a bounce back season for the Cowboys. And I know we're gonna
right now. You got all these streamers all over the
That
place.
is fantastic, though. Well deserved. Well deserved for the Cowboys.
And Kirby, being the coward that he is, decided not to be here for the NFC East Championship celebration on this beautiful, beautiful Victory Polo Tuesday. That's why me and Dan are wearing polos, despite the fact that Dan's team didn't win. But he's celebrating because he's part of the celebration.
I'm happy for you. Why should I not be? Why should I not?
But I will say, it's also my, the reason why I'm celebrating this hard is because, a lot of people actually didn't have Dallas being this good this season. Yeah. A lot of people were still picking Washington, which, and also it's a minor celebration also for my other team, the Kansas City Chiefs. They also secured the AFC West this week. So, but for them, that's normal. Dallas finally did something that we hadn't done since 2018. win the NFC East. Or we're already locked in for a home playoff game, but our ambitions are higher than this. But we want to celebrate it for now. This is a big deal. We did win the NFC East. It's hard to win this division. We haven't had a repeat winner in forever.
Yes.
But it's a good day. It's a good day. And Kirby, I know you're gonna rewatch this. You're gonna re-listen to this later.
Enjoy it.
The champs are here. Let's go.
And on that note, we will take a break. We'll be right back. We're going to transition into our other games we're covering. We got the Packers and Browns and the Titans and Niners, and that's coming up next on the Kirby on Sports podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me just tell you about Regroup Building Services. If you're looking to get your home remodeled, any part of your home, bathroom, kitchen, want to get a deck built, anything like that, Regroup Building Services can just about do everything. And take it from me, because they came in and they remodeled my family's kitchen, and they do a great job. So if you're looking for any sort of home remodeling needs, deck work done, anything of that nature, reach out to my guy Sean Hibbard over at Regroup Building Services today. You can check them out on their website, www.regroupbuildingservices.com, where they do the honeydews that your honey don't. Make sure you tell them Josh sent you.
Okay, welcome back. Carlos, there were not a lot of very good games this week as far as the score and the spread are concerned. But we did have a couple games that we wanted to highlight, especially with two games with some playoff gusto, especially in the AFC playoff picture. And the NFC a little bit too, especially for Green Bay. As we start with the Packers at home, the Packers are tough to beat at home. But when it gets to this time of the year in late December, they're almost unbeatable at home. The Browns came in and tried to, but Baker Mayfield, he was trash in this game. 4 interceptions, and you could argue that last interception, most definitely, the Packers were bailed out by pass interference. But
not being called. Yeah.
Right, exactly. But still 4 interceptions for Baker Mayfield. You know, Aaron Rodgers and the boys, they always find a way to win in these close game situations. That's what great teams do. And the Packers pull off the 2-point win, 24-22 in Lambeau. Aaron Rodgers breaking Brett Favre's all-time Green Bay passing touchdown record. Yeah. It took me a second to get that out. Jeez. And of course, Aaron finishes with 3 touchdowns, no picks, further putting himself in that MVP position, which I know we're going to talk about. And later, for the Browns, just a lot of questions. We've had a lot of questions about them this season. They haven't necessarily answered the bell when we thought they would. So what are your thoughts on this game, Carlos? This was a pretty good football game, even with how sloppy it was as far as turnovers from the Cleveland side of it. Still a pretty exciting, entertaining game by and by.
Yeah, it was definitely entertaining. I mean, honestly, there's no reason why this game should have been as close as it was, but it's just really seems like Green Bay's defense is starting to regress back to where they were last season, where they just were holding on to dear life at the end. And that's how it's been the past couple weeks. It feels like Baltimore, you know, they only won because, you know, they failed on the 2-point conversion play this week. No call pass interference, which was clearly pass interference. These refs are blind sometimes and call pass interference that's not pass interference, and then don't call pass interference that's clearly pass interference.
And this year seems particularly bad with the officiating. It seems like in every game there's 1 or 2 calls where you could say that. I mean, if a game is close, you could say that flipped the script in this game. I mean,
and that was particularly egregious because it pretty much that was on that 4th down, right? If I remember correctly, it was on 4th down. Correct. So it really costed. I mean, I'm not saying the Browns were going to go down and score, but you know, another thing is just those interceptions were very costly, you know, for the Browns, and Baker Mayfield making some pretty poor decisions there. And granted, I do like to give him a little benefit of the doubt because he is playing hurt. He's trying to power through it. But I mean, you can't make some of those throws. Some of those throws were just terrible. And yeah, for the Browns, I mean, I think they're done. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs anymore.
Agreed.
I think for the Packers, obviously Aaron Rodgers is, he's still doing amazing things, but that defense is starting to play. They had been going off of the whole playing greater than the sum of their parts.
Yeah,
where it's now starting to regress back to the mean, like the average, which is they are not that great of a defense like they were playing in the middle of the season. That's not really who they are. This is really who they are, it seems like, which is they hold on for dear life, and that's concerning for Green Bay going into the playoffs here. But for me, I feel like it definitely it's a backbreaker for Cleveland. It's definitely a red flag for Green Bay that in consecutive weeks they're holding on for dear life at the end, and it's starting to look a lot like last year.
See, and I think that's the reason why Green Bay, even though they're likely going to have the number 1 seed, we talked before the show about their schedule the rest of the way.
Yep,
pretty easy schedule, right? I mean,
they only have Minnesota and
just 2
Detroit.
division games. Yep, yeah, Minnesota and
Minnesota,
Detroit. Now Minnesota can be tough. I mean, we know they're one of the weird teams in the NFL,
and they've already beaten Green Bay already.
Right, and they seem to play up to their competition in a lot of cases. But I mean, this is a reason why I think Green Bay can be beaten in the postseason, though, is that defense, like we've talked about, like you said, the last 3 weeks and throughout the season, really, throughout the later part of the season, I should say, they've really struggled in a lot of cases.
Mm-hmm.
And really, they've kind of had to be bailed out by Aaron Rodgers in a lot of these games.
Yep.
And also, I mean, if they don't run the ball well, which they didn't particularly run the ball well in this game, Aaron Jones only 66 yards. Dylan only had 41 yards. That's not great. You really put all of your chips on Aaron Rodgers. Now, he's the kind of guy who can answer that, but I just don't know if you can sustain that in the postseason. Postseason football is different. We know the old phrase "defense wins championships." It's it's not necessarily talked about as much now. We talk a lot about how flashy a lot of offenses are, which they are, and they're very powerful now. But I still think that's true, and I think it's also true that if you run the football well, especially for a guy like Aaron Rodgers who can throw for 300, 350 yards, and without even really looking like he did. So,
sorry, I have to.
a streamer, I love it. So I mean that's my concern with Green Bay defensively, and if Aaron Rodgers makes a couple mistakes, that could really put them in a tough spot in the postseason. And we've seen that before with the Packers the last couple of years. It's just been, it's been the costly mistakes in the playoffs, and it's costed them. And yeah, I kind of agree with your assessment of Baker Mayfield and the Browns. He's been playing hurt most of the season, and not just that. I mean, he's kind of refractured, his collarbone or his shoulder, whatever it is that is messed up. It's something in that general area where he's had to wear a sling several times. This season, I think it's been at least twice where he's worsened the injury. So I really don't believe he's ever been healthy this year, and that's shown. The inaccuracy and just he's not able to get a lot on the ball like he used to be able to. There are times you just have to step back and just say, hey, I got to take care of myself and I got to get healthy. But Baker Mayfield, he's too headstrong for that. I'd say the word arrogant, but he is an arrogant guy.
He definitely is arrogant.
It's always been his MO, since he was in college. So we all saw that on display when he played Kansas. But so I think if he can get healthy, I'm not sure. I think next year is going to be a telling year for Baker Mayfield. Obviously the Browns have weapons. Jarvis Landry is one of the best receivers in the league, but the Browns were a little banged up in this game as well. They didn't have all their normal weapons. So they sort of had to go in there with pretty much just Jarvis Landry and Chubb, and that was basically it.
But Chubb was running all over this.
He was
Packers
fantastic,
team. And
right.
I think that was the frustrating thing for Browns fans was that, Chubb was getting, I can't remember his average, but he was getting a pretty good average yards per carry.
Yeah.
So I think it was I think it was 10 yards per carry if I remember correctly. I could be wrong on that one.
Yeah, but he had 126 yards in 17 attempts. So I mean,
a little less than 10 yards.
Right.
But he was pretty much solid, averaging around there. Yep. But they never, they didn't give it to him at all, really, on that last drive that ended in that interception where,
good point.
The Packers couldn't stop him. And especially in that weather in the cold, teams don't want to stop like a Derrick Henry, a Nick Chubb, a Jonathan Taylor. Those are hard hitting running backs that are, it hurts. It hurts
right,
in
exactly.
the cold. So, there's that. And the other thing that I think we're not really mentioning is the fact that also this Aaron Rodgers did not look great health wise. He was limping a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely in this game, he got stepped on a few, obviously he's got that broken pinky toe. He got stepped on a couple times. And he was really, really limping by the end of the game. So that's the other thing. Aaron Rodgers isn't 100% healthy. And that could be another, thing that's going to go against them in the playoffs and maybe why they're not as high powered as they normally are. Now, that's not saying that they're not, they're still putting up points. Aaron Rodgers still making great throws and all that stuff. But I feel like come playoff time, it might end up affecting how Green Bay plays, going forward with Aaron Rodgers' injury and just how this defense is starting to play out.
Yeah, and especially because that type of injury is it's so easy to re-aggravate it continuously every week. It's not something you have to be hit or you have to land a certain way for it to be re-aggravated. If you how many times do quarterbacks' feet get stepped on and quarterbacks get stepped on? It's all the time, several times a game, most likely. So yeah, that's a great point and something to look out for. And I know, I was like, please stop talking about his toe, because during the Ravens game, it seemed like that's all they were talking about. I'm like, yeah, we know his toe.
Yeah.
And there was that, Zoom screenshot where he had his foot up to the camera. That was so
that
awkward,
Kirby sent into our group chat.
Yep.
By the way, Kirby, you're a coward for not being on here. I'm gonna say it all show. It's okay. I'll bring the belt next episode.
Yes. Got to bring it back.
I'm gonna bring it back. Well, I don't know. If we lose to Arizona, it might be a little hard to justify it, but hey, we're still champions.
I think you could still justify it. I think you can. That's just me.
We're still the NFC East champs.
That's right. Yeah, I think we pretty much covered it. I think next year the key thing for the Browns, obviously they're going to be watching Baker Mayfield a lot because he's had moments where you've seen how great he can be, right? Mm-hmm. We saw last year when he's healthy, when he's got a good protection, what he can do with the football. Made a lot of good plays, and then of course in the postseason, they crushed the Steelers in that first playoff game.
And they were 1 point away from beating Kansas City.
Exactly right. So, and then we've also seen the flip side of that. We've seen what the Browns look like when Baker's not right. So that next year is going to be key for that. And I think defensively, I think Cleveland's got a really solid defense. If they can keep those guys around, it's just so hard to keep everybody in an off season. There's so many moving parts, but if they can stay consistent on that side of the ball, I think they'll be fine. And then the Packers, they're the Packers. I mean, they're in this spot every season. I think for them, it's just a matter of, I think what I need to see from them the last two games, especially against Detroit, they need to go out there and they need to kick their asses, both of them, but especially Detroit. Minnesota is a little bit better of competition, but I want to see the Packers show me what they have, what they can do, because they haven't really had a blowout win in quite a long time. So
yeah,
so
they haven't had like that signature win that, I mean, like that signature, like dominant blowout
Right.
win is what I mean. Like they've had signature
Exactly.
wins this season. You can San Francisco, the list goes on and on. Like but they haven't had that like pure dominance where the other team just had no shot.
Exactly. No, you hit the nail on the head, man. Yeah, I think that's all we got. I think we'll move on to the next game now. This was really the only other close game as we were looking through trying to pick out what game or two games we could talk about this week. And this was a good one. The Titans at home, they hold on to beat the 49ers 20-17. The 49ers have been playing really well recently. This was a big test for Tennessee. They come out on top, and Tannehill had a decent game, but again, I mean, this is the key for Tennessee. It's been the key since Derrick Henry got hurt. Can they run the football? And in this game, no, they really couldn't. McNichols was the leading rusher.
Replicate Derrick Henry's production. It really is.
Extremely. Yeah.
Oh, hold on. Wait. Whoa. Breaking news. John Madden has passed away.
Oh, man.
Breaking news. Oh, my Lord. Oh, man.
We got to take a moment of silence. Just crazy.
Wow. Like this is like our legit, like this legitimately just happened.
Yep. I'm getting several news things now. Yep. The Associated Press is reporting it. And
yep. I got mine from Bleacher Report. Kirby just texted us saying John Madden just passed away. They just released his documentary too.
I wonder.
Nuts.
I had heard he was sick for a while. I don't know if he had a long-standing illness or what the case was. Did you happen to watch that documentary real quick?
I did not. I did not catch that. I just didn't really have time to.
So I was right. So I mean, I was curious if they had any like recent interviews with him or recent like stuff from him, because I knew he had been sick, but I don't know. Oh man, that's just so sad. Legend. Yeah. What a legend.
Legend. He'll live forever in the video games. That's
Absolutely.
For sure.
That's it, man.
Man, wow, that's so. We lost a huge legend today. Wow, that bums me out.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to.
It's kind of hard to keep going.
But we will.
I mean, we will power through for you, John Madden, even though you probably never listened to our show once. But
we forgive you for that.
It's okay. You have probably had 50 other million things to do.
Oh yeah,
but, man. Rest in peace, John Madden. Legend, absolute legend, commentator, legend, coach.
On and off the field, man. He was professional football as far as I'm concerned.
He's definitely one of the reasons. Well, like the video game, the Madden video game, is definitely one of the reasons why I started getting into football. So,
and I mean that was the voice so many of us heard growing up too. I mean,
yeah, him and Al Michaels.
You watch Monday Night Football or whatever.
Or when they did Monday night,
Sunday
night.
Of course, he did Sunday Night Football as well.
Yeah. Then they switched over to NBC.
Yeah,
started doing Sunday Night Football instead. Man, what a loss! What a loss!
Just hard to collect your thoughts with that one, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, but rest in peace, John Madden. You will be missed.
You'll never be forgotten. You'll live, like Carlos said, you'll live on forever. You'll live on forever.
And football will never forget you. Football will miss you. And condolences to his family, to his kids, and to anybody that was close to him, our condolences. And to the football world, our condolences to the football world, because we lost somebody big.
Absolutely, man. Well, with that, we have to try to continue on here. We will. I just want to talk first about the 49ers. 5-2 in their last 7 games. Kind of been starting to put stuff together, and this was a huge test for the Titans, like I mentioned, and they were just able to hold on. This was a really fun game. as Randy Bullock kicked the game winner 44-yarder with 4 seconds left. So you got to give credit where credit's due. The Titans are there. I mean, the Titans are in the postseason right now. So how far could they go without Derrick Henry? I think that could be a discussion for probably later on in the segment. But they're the number 2 seed right now. And the 49ers are the 6th seed in the NFC. So just kind of gives you a glimpse of where they are. Garoppolo had a decent game. I mean, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Not
Those
ideal.
2 picks were very costly, though. And
yes.
Jimmy G did not. I didn't like the way he blamed his teammates for those picks, because those were kind of on him, in my opinion. I really don't like that he didn't really take responsibility. He was trying to blame his teammates.
Yeah. And, that's one of those things where, you kind of look to see what kind of a leader a quarterback is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, a lot of it is kind of based on those comments after the game. And yeah, I never like when quarterbacks do that, but especially for a guy who, I mean, outside of 2019, he had a great end of the season in 2019. And then of course the run in the playoffs to get them into the Super Bowl, where they would fall, of course, to, we know, the Kansas City Chiefs. Had to say it, but I've never been impressed with Garoppolo. I mean, he's also been hurt like 95% of the time he's been in San Francisco as well.
Yeah. He just had that one good season where they made it to the Super Bowl. And that's the thing. Like, he's shown that he can get this team to the Super Bowl. But it just hasn't, ever since that Super Bowl where they were, all they had to do was run out the clock and they couldn't do it. And they let Patrick Mahomes, get back into the game. I mean, ever since then, last year, injuries all over the place, all their star players getting hurt. This year, kind of the same thing. They finally have some momentum going for them, and they're going to make the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
But it just does, like, ever since the ankle injury, he just hasn't seemed the same.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. That's a great point. And it's hard when a quarterback has any sort of leg injury, especially with being how mobile quarterbacks are now. It's not like it was in the old days where, they didn't run. So, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. I mean, the 2 interceptions, you can't have that in a game where, you want to keep pace and you also want to try to increase your chances of making the postseason. Now, like you said, they are going to get in, I think, especially with the way things stand now. They just have to take care of their business. And I think they will. But yeah, this 49ers team is interesting to me. Also, they have no running game either. So Jimmy G has to throw it, 40 times, which he threw 35 in this game. So, it's just ridiculous. But they're so odd to me. I can't figure them out because they started the season awful. They were awful to start the season. And then after the midway point, they really started put it together. Then they had a couple more losses. And then, like I said, they're now 5-2 in their last 7. They're an odd team. I just think that's how I would describe the 49ers. It's just, I think, again, it's like a lot of other teams. It just depends on what version of their quarterback shows up. I really think that's it. Because their defense is okay. They have some playmakers on that side of the ball, but they're not gonna be home wreckers or anything like that. So, I think for the Titans, this was a game they had to win. And
definitely, the Titans definitely had to win this one to stay competitive in this race, and also to kind of stave off the Colts, because the Colts right now, they're trending upwards. Obviously, now news came out. Obviously, Carson Wentz has COVID. Color me surprised.
Who could have guessed, right?
But the Colts right now, they're trending upwards, whereas the Titans have just been it's just been a roller coaster ride.
They've been sticking around. Yeah, I mean, they've just been there. They've been.
Yeah, and obviously they're waiting. They're just waiting. They're just trying to keep the season going long enough to give Derrick Henry a chance, and it's looking like he could play Week 18 at the earliest. Week 18. But even if he comes back, who's to say that he's going to be in football shape at that point, because he's been rehabbing this whole time. Is he? He hasn't played since they played the Colts that week where he broke his foot.
Right,
So,
and you could also say, like, look at what happened to Russell Wilson. He rushed back, and we've all seen how he's played. His passes are nowhere near like they used to be.
He looks nothing like the Russell Wilson we've known.
He's a shell of himself. So that's what concerns me about Derrick Henry. Like, will he be a shell of himself?
Yeah.
I don't know. Who knows? The Titans, though, are doing what they have to do. They're taking care of business, and that's the biggest thing.
AJ, but we do have to give props to AJ Brown because he had a monster game.
He's a fantastic player.
Yeah.
He's a clutch receiver. When they need a big play, they go to AJ Brown.
Mm-hmm.
They like to go to Julio Jones, but he hasn't played much. He hasn't played much since he came over from the Falcons.
And he just hasn't looked like the Julio Jones that caught that incredible catch during the Super Bowl, which of course they did lose. But he still had an incredible catch, and he just hasn't looked like that guy. Like, I haven't seen that guy in forever.
Yeah, I mean, he's old now. I understand, but you can tell he's weathered down. The game's weathered him down, especially playing down there in Atlanta, where, I mean, he was their leading target, and they really didn't have a whole lot of success in the years he was there, minus those couple postseason appearances. Yep. One thing I think the Titans have going for them, Carlos, is their last two games. They host Miami, and then they finish the season on the road at Houston. Obviously, two very winnable games. Obviously, two divisional games.
But Miami right now they're on a 7-game win streak. But when you really look at the teams they beat on that 7-game win streak, it's not a lot of great teams that they've beaten. They have
a couple there.
And obviously Houston can play spoiler. They just beat the Chargers.
Yeah, we'll talk about that game in our hurry up offense, which was a surprise to. Yeah. I mean,
to everybody.
We've talked about this every week. This season has been so bizarre in that it's like every week there's an upset or two that just kind of knocks you back a little bit. And I think the lower salary cap and as well as the extra week this season is sort of kind of given hold to that. Next year, once we see the salary cap go up, and and we get more used to this extra week of a season, I think you'll see teams separate themselves a little better next year.
That like this normally is the end of the season. This is last week, but we still have one more week to go. It's like the season just won't end. Like I'm kind of ready for it to end at this point.
I'm totally with you, but there's still a lot up for grabs, and we'll talk about that in the playoff picture segment. So yeah, both these teams right now are in the postseason. If the season ended today, obviously doesn't mean a damn thing, but the 49ers, they host the Texans, and then they're on the road to finish the year at the Rams. Tough place to finish the season on the road in Los Angeles.
I mean, it's not as if Los Angeles has like they have a home field advantage. Honestly, there could be more 49ers fans there than Rams fans. They could be. It's
a good point. But young team there, so
it's not as if LA is going to just hand them this game. If they're still fighting for the division, which they very well still could be, then it would be. Especially if Arizona beats Dallas this week, they're still going to be fighting for the division in that last week. So LA's not going to hand it to them. If Dallas beats Arizona, then I feel like LA might rest their starters. So, but
good point.
For San Francisco, it really might come down to that last game. It really could, but I think they're in prime position to make it in regardless. But they have to handle their business against Houston, which again, like we said, they can play spoiler, and then they have to at least they have to be Houston. Then the LA game could be a must win for LA, or it could not be. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. But yeah, that's all I got.
Same here. We talked a lot about these two teams. All right, Carlos, those are our 2 game breakdowns we have this week. Hopefully we have some at least 3 games to talk about next week with the host of this podcast who gives his name to this podcast, who didn't show up,
coward, and didn't show up today to face me
Face the music, Josh
Face
Kirby.
the music. Be a man. Show your face. Show me your face. Love you, Kirby. I love you.
Love you, man. Yeah, we're just giving you a hard time. We're gonna take another break here. We'll be right back. We're gonna talk the playoff picture, which is very muddy and interesting, especially on the AFC side. We'll be right back.
For sports fans living in condominium and homeowners associations, as well as business professionals, when you need a reserve study, PM Plus Reserves has been in business since 1990. Their studies are accurate and easy to understand. Check them out when your association needs a study. www.pmplusreserves.com. You can also contact them at 703-803-8436. Once again, www.pmplusreserves.com. Is it finally time to upgrade your home's interior? How about with an authentic farm table made locally from recycled barnwood? Shenandoah Primitives, based right here in Winchester, Virginia, makes farm tables, benches, tables, coffee tables, and a long list of other items for your home decorating needs. At Shenandoah Primitives, function and style are combined for great furniture that will last generations. If you're interested in combining the industrial look of metal with wood, or considering something incredibly unique with a live edge, Shenandoah Primitives turns those ideas into reality. Thinking about a mirror, wine rack, or other accent piece for your home, Shenandoah Primitives can assist with that as well. As a local small business, Shenandoah Primitives is happy to work with each client for a custom design or schedule an appointment to come out and view current inventory. Local, high-quality, handmade items can be found at Shenandoah Primitives. Find us on Facebook and Instagram or visit us at www.shenandoahprimitives.com. Once again, that's www.shenandoahprimitives.com.
Welcome back to the Kirby on Sports podcast. Carlos, the playoff picture, to say it's heating up would be an understatement. It is beyond interesting right now. So let's just start and run through, okay, what are the seedings right now? We'll start in the AFC. Obviously, we talked about your Kansas City Chiefs, the number 1 seed. They would have the first round bye. Remember a month ago when we all kind of said they were done, and
it wasn't. It was. I mean, a month ago was when they started getting hot. It was when they were 3-4, where we were like, man, I don't know. The season gets a little tough. It gets a lot tougher. I don't know how many games they're gonna win, but they got to figure it out. Now they're the
find
number
a
1
way.
seed. The world is as it should be.
Jesus. All right. Well, the number 2 seed right now, we talked about this, are the Titans. They're 10-5. They would host the 7th seed Miami Dolphins, who get in with that win against the Saints last night.
It's so crazy to think that the Dolphins are actually in the playoffs after starting 1-7.
It's got to be some sort of, if they went out, I wonder what the record is for most. I mean, obviously you have undefeated teams, right? But I'm talking about, 1-win teams. What's the record for a 1-win team?
It's never happened.
Playoff?
A team that's gone 1-7 has never made the playoffs before. So this would be monumental for them. But like I said, when you really look into who they've beaten on the 7-game win streak, it hasn't been good teams.
Yeah, that's a good point. It started against the Texans, and then of course Baltimore. Rather not talk about that. Let's go.
That was a weird week. That was a weird week for Baltimore.
Yeah,
it was on a Thursday night too, which Thursday night games you just don't know what's going to happen.
True. And then they beat the Jets, Carolina, and the Giants. Okay, there's your easy wins right there. And then the Jets again.
Beat them.
And then a shorthanded New Orleans team. So pretty much outside of Baltimore, you're right. I mean, they haven't really beaten anybody of stature. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. They finish out with, Tennessee and New England. That's about as tough as you can get.
2 playoff teams. So basically their playoffs start now.
Yep.
Because if they lose one, they're pretty much out of it. And if Baltimore wins out, Baltimore gets in. But do you really want Baltimore in?
We're going to be one and done if we do get in. So I've already expected that. All right, the 3rd seed, AFC North leaders right now, and probably going to win the division, I think. The Cincinnati Bengals. What a season they've had. What a comeback for Joe Burrow.
Surprise.
What a surprise. Right. I mean, we had, what was our preseason prediction? Can we remember?
Our preseason prediction was Ravens would win. Browns would come.
Browns
it was gonna be between Browns and the Ravens fighting for the division, but it was gonna be them two. We had Bengals third. You had them last. I had them third, and then we basically flip-flopped on the Bengals and Steelers.
Well, we were kind of right with the Steelers, but this division is still kind of up for grabs statistically.
Yeah,
so.
It's not locked up yet.
No. So, but I'm pretty confident that Cincinnati wins the rest of the way. If they can go against practice squad corners again, I think, and other defensive backs, I think they'll be fine. And they would, if the playoffs were today, the 3rd seed Bengals would host the 6th seed Patriots, who are coming off a very disappointing loss to Buffalo.
2-game losing streak for them.
Yeah. Yeah, they're an interesting team. Mac Jones, he's hot and cold. I mean, what else can you say? I mean, he had a couple weeks ago where he only threw it like 3 times. That was all fine and dandy.
It was against Buffalo, coincidentally.
And now 2 weeks in a row, he's had to throw it a little bit more, just a little bit. But it's tougher. It's been tough for Mac Jones.
Well, they went on the bye week after that win against Buffalo, and they just haven't looked the same since the bye week. It's very similar to how Dallas looked. Dallas did not look the same coming out of the bye week. They gotta work fast because we only have 2 games left, and it's not guaranteed that they make the playoffs. So
right.
And now that they've lost the division lead, they're not in play for the 1 seed anymore. I mean, at this point, Kansas City pretty much has it locked up at this point. Yeah, I mean, Bill Belichick's got to get these guys back refocused and playing good football like we expect them to.
Yeah, and I do think they will be the 6th seed, or they will get in as a wild card in my opinion. I if there's anybody who can find a way, it's Bill Belichick. He's done it throughout his career. Usually on the the upper echelon of that. But and then our last playoff matchup right now, if the playoffs started today in the AFC, the 4th seed Bills would host the 5th seed Colts, which that would be a great matchup. But now
it'd be a rematch from last year because they played at this exact round last year.
That's right. You have COVID Carson. He's out. That could spell some trouble for the Colts.
That could really hurt the Colts this week.
Right. So that's something to watch out for. And the Bills are one of those teams, I can't fully say that I buy the Chiefs. The Chiefs. The Bills.
Yes, I agree. The Bills,
they've been so up and down, right?
But they've been so up and down because of how quarterback centric their offense is. They only go as far as Josh Allen. So if Josh Allen's having a bad day, the whole offense is having a bad day. They have no running game. They rely a lot on Josh Allen running the ball. And if he can't get the passing game going, then I mean their offense shuts down basically. So for Buffalo, that's the biggest concern because they've tried to build this team to compete with the Kansas City, the Tampa Bays, the Packers, and they were Super Bowl favorites going into the season. But their biggest flaw is that they rely too much on Josh Allen. And Josh Allen will give you a 2, 3, 4 game stretch where he looks incredible, but he's going to have those games where he can't get it going. And then what does this team do? They don't have a good running game to rely on. They don't have.
You're exactly right. Yeah.
They rely too much on Josh Allen to get this team going. And I think that's going to be their biggest downfall in the playoffs. If they end up going out at any point, it's going to be because Josh Allen couldn't get going.
Totally agree with you. And let's talk about the 8, 9, and 10 seeds in the AFC because you have 7 through 10. They all have the same record. They're all 8 and 7 right now. We could see a lot of turnover. Whoever gets that 7th seed, it's strange. Who do you think gets that last spot? Because I think going into this weekend, if you would ask me on Saturday who I thought was the 7th seed, And who was there? It was the Chargers. I mean, they were the team that, the Chargers got this. They're not going to lose on, to Houston. Well, what did they do on Sunday? They don't not only lose to Houston, they get their lunch handed to them. So or get their lunch eaten or taken. I don't freaking know what the saying is, man. I just kind of go along with it. But yeah, that's how the season's kind of gone, though. It's been those weeks where you're like, how in the hell did the Chargers lose to the Texans, who had nothing
and even
to
if
play
the
for?
Chargers win out, they don't control their destiny. So they need help. They need the Ravens to lose. They need the Dolphins to lose.
Mm-hmm.
They're in a tough spot right now. I really don't know who gets that 7 seed, because it could be Baltimore. It could be Miami would have to win out, of course. And it's tough for they got the Titans, they got the Patriots. It's not going to be easy for them. I don't know, man. I would have, on Saturday, I would have agreed with you too. I would have said Chargers for sure. They're going to get that 7 seed. They're going to make the playoffs, and they're going to be a dangerous team. But then they went out and they lost to Houston, and now like I said, now they don't even control their own destiny. So for me, because of the schedule, who's the Ravens' last 2 games? They have
They're
Rams
at home against the Rams, at home against Pittsburgh. See, I think the
Chargers still. I mean, I might still go with the Chargers just because. Yeah. I mean, just because you got to think the Rams are probably going to beat the Ravens, and you got to think either the Titans or the Patriots are going to knock off the Dolphins for one. So that I
don't necessarily disagree with that. I think that's a good pick.
Yeah, so I think that would put. I think. I keep wanting to call them San Diego, but I think
I've called them San Diego so many times, dude.
Yeah, that's where they really belong. They don't belong in LA, but I think the Chargers. So I think the Chargers are in. I think even though they don't control their own destiny, it's looking more optimistic for them than people are making it out to be. But if Baltimore wins out, or if Miami somehow pulls off the miracle and beats the Titans and the Patriots, then they can only be mad at themselves because they're the ones who dropped the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, for the Chargers, I mean, I do think they'll beat Denver, and that's also at home. On the road at Vegas is a tough place to win. I mean, we've seen that this season. Now they've had a lot of things that their team has gone through, no doubt. Let's just face it, they've been through hell this season as far as their off the field stuff. With John Gruden, and how that whole thing went down, and then the very tragic Henry Ruggs situation. They've had to overcome a lot emotionally. So who knows? It's going to be interesting to see how it all pans out. I think the one plus that the Ravens have is that, those last 2 games for them are at home. I think if they had to go to Los Angeles, I would say blowout loss. I really believe that they're just not in any position to beat them. But this team, for some reason, they've given me reason to hope this season, and when I think the game's over and I've been in the group chat crying and complaining, they go on a 2-score, 3-score run, whatever it is. I don't know if that's going to happen. I just think they have too many missing pieces now to make that happen. But look, I really think it's between them and the Chargers, because I do think Miami's going to slip up, especially because they're on the road against Tennessee. Tennessee's still a good football team, regardless of what we talked about. All right, well, let's flip over to the NFC now. Let's take a look at that playoff picture. So right now, the Packers, Green Bay Packers have the number 1 seed. Of course, they would have the first round bye. The number 2 seed Cowboys, they would host the number 7 seed Eagles.
Campeones, ole, ole, ole. All right.
Wouldn't you guys be lucky if the Eagles got in and you got to host them?
The only way the Eagles, the only way they're getting in is if they got to win us week 8. They have to win out. They have to beat us week 18.
Mm-hmm.
If we're still in play, if we beat Arizona this week and we're still in play for the 2 seed, we're playing our starters and we're giving them everything because we have something to play for. if we lose to Arizona, then I feel like we're going to rest our starters.
Yeah, I agree with that.
18. But if we have something to play for, which is that 2 seed, we're not giving it to Philly, And also, I don't want to give it to Philly. Screw Philly. They're a division rival. Why give them? It's like last year when
give them the satisfaction. Yeah.
It's like last year when Philly ended up throwing away the game against Washington, giving them the division. Why would you do that?
Ridiculous.
It's a division rival,
Just ridiculous.
And obviously then they had a reckoning. A lot of people ended up leaving.
Peterson
because
was
of that.
Gone, and that was the last straw for Peter on the camel's back for Peterson. Yeah.
Yeah. And so for me, even if we don't have anything to play for at that point, I still wouldn't sit our starters out. I would at least play them for a half, just so we can keep the momentum going and beat down and get like a little bit of a warm-up fight for the big fights that are coming in the playoffs, But yeah, so right now it's Philly at the 7 right now, right?
Philly's at 7, yep.
So yeah, so if the playoffs started right now, we would be playing Philly.
Correct. This is as of today, or
as of today.
I guess yesterday, technically.
Yeah, technically, but
last night.
Yeah, but yeah. So for me, this is like that. I mean, we have to handle our business against Arizona, and
that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Then we'll have something to play for that last week, and yeah. I say we don't give Philly a chance. Screw them.
There you go. I like it. All right, your next playoff matchup, if the playoffs started today, we would have the LA Rams hosting the 6th seed San Francisco 49ers, who are hanging on to that right now. Interesting. Very interesting for sure.
Yeah, obviously they also play week 18.
Yeah, they're very familiar with each other too. They've obviously playing in the same division.
This would be another like divisional rematch.
Mm-hmm.
It's so weird. So weird. Now, another thing we should preface is the reason why Dallas, despite the fact that Tampa Bay has a win over Dallas and they're sitting at the 4, the reason why Dallas is the number 2 is because we have a better conference record.
Or conference,
yeah. Conference record, because all our losses were just to the AFC opponent. So that's why if we were gonna lose games, it was best that we lost to AFC opponents, and of course our only loss in the NFC was to Tampa Bay in the opener.
Yeah.
And
that was a great game.
And the reason why it's going to the conference record instead of like head to heads is because right now it's a 3-way tie between the Rams, right, the Bucks, and the Cowboys. If the Cowboys if the Rams, like let's say the Rams lose this next game, and it's just a head to head between the Buccaneers and the Cowboys, then the Buccaneers jump the Cowboys because then it goes to head to head. They've obviously beaten us. So that's why the seeding is like this. That's why Dallas is number 2 and why Tampa's number 4. But if it comes down to between the Rams and the Bucks, the Rams would go over the Bucks because they've gotten the win over them.
There's just so much at play.
Tiebreakers get really confusing.
Yeah. And I'd like to see a full list of it, because I know that there's tiebreakers on tiebreakers on tiebreakers on tiebreakers. I mean, that sounds like a new song. Maybe I should write that. But so as you finish up here on the NFC side, the playoff matchups, we would have the Bucks. Obviously, we just talked about them. They're the 4th seed right now. They would host the 5th seed Cardinals. Do you think the Cardinals stay in? I mean, obviously they're 10-5.
They've already clinched the playoff berth.
Well, they're in.
They're in, but they're in trouble for sure. Ever since they put DeAndre Hopkins on IR, it's not looked great. And they're saying he's not going to even be able to come back until the conference championship. So it's not as if the playoffs start, he's back. He's going to be out for a while. They've got a lot of work to do, because right now they're trending downwards, and they're about to face a hell of a team right now in Dallas. who's feeling that we're feeling ourselves. We're feeling ourselves right now. So Arizona has a lot, and Tampa, oh man, it's going to be tough for Tampa too, because right now they are they're hurting. You know, they obviously lost Godwin for the season. I don't have an update on Mike Evans in front of me, so I don't know if they've like come out with how injured he is. You know, how injured is Leonard Fournette going forward? At least they got Antonio Brown back, I guess, but you know, I don't know. Tampa,
it's something.
You know, the thing with Tampa last season, they were the healthiest team going into the playoffs, and that's why they really thrived in the playoffs, was because they were one of the healthiest teams. And that's one of the key things when you go into the playoffs is health. You know, sometimes it's not necessarily the best team. Sometimes it's just the healthiest team. Right now it's Dallas. But it'll be interesting to see how Tom Brady weathers this storm and figures this out. And you know what?
Brady's done it many times. You know, I think if anybody can weather it best, it's him. Also, you asked about Mike Evans. He actually got placed on the COVID list. So, okay. And I'm trying to see if it doesn't say if he's vaccinated or unvaccinated. Obviously,
he is. Everybody. Well, I mean, aside from Antonio Brown, everybody on the Browns was the Buccaneers. Mm-hmm. The Buccaneers they were one of the few teams that reported 100% vaccination, but of course, then it came out that Antonio Brown faked his vaccine card. So I don't know if that's the same for any other ones, but my guess is he probably just has Omicron, and he's probably asymptomatic if I had to guess, but I don't know that for certain.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw this, but the NFL just changed their protocol, similar to the CDC also changing their protocol. I think it's 5 days.
5 days quarantine if you're asymptomatic.
Yes. And then I guess you have to test again, and is that how it works? I haven't read the specifics of the NFL's
I haven't either, but
policy.
I'm guessing that's probably what it is. You probably quarantine. You probably test during it. And it's probably just 5 days quarantine. I mean, if they're saying 5 days quarantine, I think you're good after that.
Yeah. So, I mean, the thing about that too is, and this is something my doctor said, and this is a random tidbit about the COVID. You know, you could still show positive on a test, you know, several months after being fine. Yeah. So that's something else to keep in mind too, which is pretty strange. But, all right, that's the NFC playoff picture. I think the big difference between the two, playoff pictures is really the only team in the AFC that's locked up a playoff spot right now is the Kansas City Chiefs. You're still waiting for those other spots to lock up. And on the NFC side, you have all 4 division winners locked up. And then
no, not the Rams have not locked.
The Rams
not.
The Rams and Cardinals are still fighting.
The Rams have not, but the other 3 are locked in.
Yeah, sorry about that. I just saw that. So
basically 5 out of the 7 spots are filled. Yep. We're just waiting on the last 2 for the NFC side. And yeah.
I really think the 7th seed is the only one that's going to change. I think Minnesota's probably the most able to take that over. Right now, if you look at 8 teams 8 through 10, I mean, New Orleans is a mess. They've got they've got issue upon issue. Atlanta, and Atlanta has to play on the road at Buffalo, so good luck. And then you have, and then that's it. And then Washington's at 11. They're done. They're 6 and 9. They would have to win out, and I'm pretty sure get some help.
Yeah,
sorry, Kirby.
And help. I mean, yeah. I'm not sorry. The coward Kirby did not show up to face the music.
That's you know what. That's kind of what he gets. You know, you know what I think that's why he didn't show up. He didn't want to be made fun of the Dallas.
He didn't want me to rub, but it's okay. You know, it's fine. It's fine. I got plenty to dish out next week.
It's not going to stop.
He can't run away from his punishment.
So that is your NFC playoff picture. I'm just going to run over the matchups one more time on both sides just to review here if anybody missed that. The Chiefs are the number 1 seed. They would have a first-round bye if the playoffs started today. The number 2 seed Titans would host the number 7 seed Dolphins. The number 3 seed Bengals would host the number 6 seed Patriots. And the number 4 seed Bills would host the number 5 seed Colts. And on the NFC side, the Packers would be the 1st seed and have the first-round bye. The 2nd seed, or the 2 seed Cowboys would host the 7 seed Eagles. That would be strange. The 3 seed Rams would host the 6 seed 49ers and the 4th seed Bucks. would host the 5th seed Cardinals. All right. There's your playoff picture right now. It's going to be interesting on the AFC side of things. The NFC is pretty much clear-cut and decided at this point. We just have a couple of spots up for grabs.
Yeah.
All right, Carlos, we're going to go now into a segment that you're going to run point on here. We're going to talk about some postseason awards. As we get down here, the last couple weeks of the season, the MVP race, the NFL in offensive and defensive player of the year awards are starting to be, sized out here, as well as the rookie awards and comeback player of the year. Do we also want to touch on the coach of the year, or do you want to say
I was
going
to throw that in too.
Okay, cool. I'll turn it over to you and let's kick this off.
Of course, we do want to preface again. Rest in peace, John Madden.
Yes.
Lost the legend. Big news today. You guys got a reaction to that earlier. Not gonna lie, that segment, it was kind of hard to focus after we got that news, but we powered through. We powered through, and here we are.
That's what professionals do.
That's what us professionals do. We power through it, even though it was tough. But yeah, let's start. Let's start with MVP.
All right.
What are you thinking, candidates wise? Obviously, we'll throw Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. Anybody else you want to throw in there that you're thinking?
I think I'd put Jonathan Taylor up there as well.
I would as well.
It's just going to be I think the key thing for Jonathan Taylor is now that Carson Wentz is out, and I said this on Twitter earlier, we're really going to see is Jonathan Taylor the MVP.
Yeah, because if they dominate and Carson Wentz isn't there, and Jonathan Taylor has a big game, that's going to really help his MVP.
I think he's the MVP, right?
Yep.
But to me, it's just really hard for anyone outside of a quarterback to win. That's just
a
quarterback
how it goes. Award.
It's a quarterback award. So, and hardly anyone has played better than Rodgers and Brady this year. I mean, you could say that. So, those are the three I have. I'm not sure who else if I had a top 5, I don't know really who else I could put in there.
Yeah, I don't either.
Obviously, Mahomes has really started to play well recently, but I just don't. It's a whole season award.
Yeah, I was about to say, but does the earlier parts of the season, when Kansas City was really slumping, does that? Oh, there goes my streamers. Does that end up hurting his? I mean, for me, it hurts his case also.
Yeah.
Because again, it's the most valuable player, and yes, Patrick Mahomes is the most valuable player in the Chiefs. But he was there while they were struggling.
He struggled to start the season.
Yeah. So for me, I don't think he's the MVP this year. I would go with Aaron Rodgers. Who would you go with?
Yeah, right now I'd have to give it to Rodgers. But Brady's close. Brady's close in my mind. I mean, you just look at the 44-year-old. Just the fact that he's still able to stand up is an unbelievable thing and still play. In a really physical sport, and just the way he's played this season. But Aaron Rodgers has been fantastic. His throws are you just stand there with your mouth wide open saying, how did he do that? And there's and Rodgers has had many of those this year. So I think he's my pick for MVP. I think somebody further down the list is Josh Allen. He's had a really solid season. He's just not there yet for me as far as MVP. I think he's getting into that stage where here's
the biggest thing knocking him. He lost to the Urban Meyer-led Jaguars.
Bingo.
You can't be MVP if you lose to that team.
Totally
you can't.
Agree.
You just can't. I'm sorry, you can't. So, yeah, I agree. I would go Aaron Rodgers. I think Tom Brady has a case, but what's going to hurt his case is that Saints game, or is the 2 Saints games, because he had an opportunity to beat them on the first game, game-winning drive. He throws a pick. Second game at home, they get shut out. And it's not as if the Saints are a stout team. I mean, look at how Dallas's offense was slumping. When we beat them, and we still came out with like a 2 touchdown win. And granted, they had some injuries, and that was the game where Godwin got hurt. Am I correct?
Correct. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
So, granted, they had injuries, but still, you have to find a way to win. Aaron Rodgers has found ways to win. And yeah, sure, there was the whole COVID controversy, the vaccination, not vaccinated, immunized, wordplay, whatever thing that happened. Ultimately, I just think it's kind of undeniable. Like, he's playing hurt and he still looks great. And granted, like I did say earlier, he was limping hard this week, but he's getting the results done. So for me, I would go
still spectacular.
Yeah. I would
argue with the results. Yep.
Yeah. I would go Aaron Rodgers for MVP, but I can see the case for Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. And Jonathan Taylor could jump Aaron Rodgers this week.
He's there.
If he has a big game and the Colts win, I feel like Jonathan Taylor will be the favorite.
I agree with that.
So let's go to the next the next award, Offensive Player of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you thinking for this one?
Well,
because I'm thinking
because I think again you could put Jonathan Taylor on that list, right. But I really like what Cooper Kupp's been doing this season.
You definitely could put Cooper Kupp in this role also.
I think I really like what he's been able to do and the connection that he and Stafford have had in Stafford's first year there. Now Stafford came into a perfect situation.
Yeah, but
I mean, literally
kind of playing like crap right now. But him and Cooper Kupp definitely have a great connection.
Their connection is undeniable. So I would say Cooper Kupp, but I really think it's between Kupp and Jonathan Taylor at this point.
I would say,
but it's tough.
I would say that if Jonathan Taylor doesn't win MVP, I think they're just going to give him Offensive Player of the Year.
I agree.
As a kind of consolation award, like, hey, you didn't win MVP, but you were definitely Offensive Player of the Year. But that Cooper Kupp case is really, really strong. I agree with you there.
Yeah.
I would also, who else would I throw in there? There's not really a lot of players I would throw in. Yeah, no, I think those are two perfect candidates there.
But again, if Rodgers doesn't win MVP,
Offensive Player of the Year,
I think
never
whoever
really goes
wins
to a
MVP, I think the person who finished second is going to win Offensive Player of the Year. That's usually the way it goes. Anyway.
I don't think you give Offensive Player of the Year to a quarterback.
Okay, fair enough.
I think it'll go if Jonathan Taylor wins MVP. Cooper Kupp is going to win Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, and last year you had the last 2 years you've had quarterbacks win. Last year you had Justin Herbert, and the year before Kyler Murray. Which is that right? Yeah, it is right. Okay, I just had to make sure because they looked like rookies until I got to Saquon Barkley in 2018. But yeah, I think Kupp and Taylor. I really think it's between those two guys. Would you just think there's anybody else you'd put up there? Or
nobody really comes to my head, and I know I'm gonna it's gonna come to me later. I'm gonna be like, dang, I should have said that guy.
What about Debo Samuel? He's been having a really, really good season.
Yeah, but he's been hurt this year.
True.
That goes again.
The key thing is staying healthy when you win.
Your best ability is availability, and Debo Samuel, while he is a fantastic player, he hasn't necessarily been available all the time. So it's the same thing. Like you could have thrown George Kittle in there, but George Kittle's been hurt most of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I would say you could throw Travis Kelce, but Travis Kelce's just now starting to get hot. He hasn't been hot all season the way Jonathan Taylor and Cooper Kupp have. So I think those two are the perfect nominees for this award. And it just really depends. Like if Jonathan Taylor wins MVP, then I think Cooper Kupp wins Offensive Player of the Year.
Agree.
If Aaron Rodgers wins MVP, then I think they're just going to give Offensive Player of the Year to Jonathan Taylor. So
I agree, man.
That's how I see that.
Totally with you there.
Going.
No, I jive with that.
All right.
Let's go to defensive. Who you got for that? Interesting list.
This is going to be an interesting list.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm a homer. I'm going to say Micah Parsons because I think Micah Parsons has just been an absolute animal this year.
He's got to be up there. He's got to be up there.
And obviously the other nominees would be TJ Watt and Myles Garrett.
Don't forget about Trayvon Diggs. Trayvon Diggs could easily be up there as well.
But here's the thing that goes against Diggs is, yes, Diggs has 11 picks. Huge. But he has allowed the most yardage out out of any defensive back in the league.
Well, you also got to think about that's just the kind of player he is. He's going to go for interceptions.
True, but for me, defensive player of the year has to be a dominant, like a Richard Sherman type of corner where nothing gets past him. You can get big plays on Trayvon Diggs. I love Trayvon Diggs. I do. I think he's definitely should be a candidate. Those 11 picks have to count for something, right? But I don't think he wins it. I think Micah Parsons is just at another level. I think just for him, the other thing is, he's impacting the game positively where his contributions are helping Dallas win, where Myles Garrett, it's not really helping them win. TJ Watt, it's definitely not helping them win. For me, that matters also. Like, does what you're doing defensively help this team win? Like, yeah, Micah Parsons, yes. And Micah Parsons is playing everywhere. He's on the edge. He's playing middle linebacker. He's playing D tackle. He's in the secondary. He's everywhere. Micah Parsons is an absolute animal. For me, it's Micah Parsons. What about you?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think you summed it up perfectly. And the fact that he's so versatile that they can put him in so many different positions, that how more valuable could you be? I think that's how I would sum that up. So. And you guys are very, very blessed to have that man. I'll say that much.
We did it. We wanted Patrick Surtain. We did.
I know.
Like everybody at Dallas wanted another
Patrick
corner.
Surtain.
We wanted Patrick Surtain. But boy, am I glad we ended up not getting him and getting Micah Parsons, because Micah Parsons has been an absolute godsend to Dallas. And we are so thankful that he fell to us, because we even traded out of that spot, traded further back, and he still fell to us. And there's every team that was in front of us that ended up not picking him are kicking themselves because they see what a gem they lost in Micah Parsons. So I would go Micah Parsons, Defensive Player of the Year, but something tells me they're just not going to give it to a rookie, even though he's got 13 sacks and is just an absolute beast. But if he can this week is going to be key in his bid for Defensive Player of the Year, because if he can shut down Kyler Murray and like make some key sacks against Kyler Murray, and we know how elusive Kyler Murray can be, that'll really, really, really help his bid for Defensive Player of the Year.
Totally agree with you. All right, man. Let's go to the rookies. Who you got?
Offensive Rookie of the Year. Who are you thinking?
Ooh. A couple weeks ago, I probably would have said Mac Jones. But I really like what Waddle's been doing, even though the Dolphins, they haven't been playing great. But I think my pick's Jamar Chase. That's who my pick is.
That's a good pick.
He's made the biggest difference. He's made the biggest difference for the Bengals this year. Now I know last year, obviously, they had a couple issues. But yeah, I think he's made the biggest difference for this offense, and especially his relationship with Joe Burrow. Like, you see that.
Yeah.
You see the long-term development that those two guys have had together, and it's just been the perfect landing spot for him. And he's dominated secondaries pretty much all season long. So yeah, I'm going to go with Jamar Chase.
I'm going to go with Mac Jones. I think these next two games are going to be key for that. If Mac Jones does not come out and perform in these next two games for the Patriots, then it's Jamar Chase's. But I think if Mac has great performances here in the next 2 weeks and gets back on track the way he was earlier in the season, I think he wins Offensive Rookie of the Year.
I'm with that. I'm totally with that. All right, what are we thinking for defense there, Carlos?
I mean, come on, we already know who it's going to be. Micah Parsons. We don't even have to discuss this one.
Can someone win both the Defensive Rookie and the Defensive?
I don't see why not.
Okay.
I mean, he's clearly Defensive Rookie of the Year, right? But I think he's more than just that. I think he is Defensive Player of the Year. I think he's just made such a difference to this Dallas defense that, I mean, look at how atrocious we were last year compared to this year.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously it's not just Micah Parsons, but what Micah Parsons has injected and infused into this defense is incredible.
Yeah. I think this the defensive rookie of the year. One's kind of a runaway pick for Micah Parsons. I think he'll win it
100%.
convincingly.
Yeah.
That's what we have for the rookies of the year.
All right.
Let's talk about comeback. You got comeback player of the year. I think I have an idea of who you're going to pick, but
I mean, come on. It's one guy. It's one guy. It's Dak Prescott, baby. NFC East champion.
it's
Dak Prescott.
crazy how many Dallas Cowboys are on these lists, but that's okay.
I mean, it's only
They
two
deserve
when you think about it. I only have two, Dak and Micah. It's the only two people I have.
Diggs. You could put Diggs.
Well, Diggs is nominee, but I only have two winning.
That's fair.
But yeah, I mean, come on. Dak Prescott obviously breaking his leg last year. And it was, breaking his ankle. I'm sorry, not his leg. Breaking his ankle really badly, coming back against, not playing all preseason and then coming in and having a great performance against Tampa, obviously in a losing effort. We go on a 6-game winning streak. He's been in a little bit of a slump, but he looks like he's back on track this week. But I mean, come on, it's clearly him. I don't see anybody else really taking that award from him. Do you?
Yeah, I mean, you could argue like Joe Burrow, but to me,
you could definitely make an argument, but
I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, you talk about all the recovery he had to go through last year. We saw just how valuable he is to the Cowboys because look, that team was deflated after that. I mean, emotionally, physically deflated. You could tell, you could see it, and his loss was huge to that football team. And obviously their quarterback play. I mean, they had how many? Dalton. They had several different quarterbacks, right? I mean, they had the guy from JMU, yeah. So they really couldn't figure it out. And that just goes to show you how important he was to their franchise. And yeah, he's had a fantastic season. And yeah, I think he's my pick. And I think again, this is another one of those runaway type picks.
Yeah. I mean, it was always going to be. It was like this was the pick from week one after he had that performance. So it's clearly going to be Dak Prescott. Mm-hmm. Just like how last season it was like, if Alex Smith ever got back on the field, it was clearly going to be Alex Smith. And when he got on the field, it was like, yep, he's going to win comeback player of the year.
Which is the crazy thing because obviously there's an age difference between Alex Smith and Dak.
And it was a totally different injury that they both suffered.
Right.
Of course, if you
watch
the
fact that Dak has played as well as he has, rehabbed as fast as he did, and he's come back pretty much full strength and has been tearing it up this season that's the epitome of a comeback player. And
that's not to say he's faced adversity this season because, he had the shoulder injury in the preseason. He's had the calf injury, which it looks like he's finally fully recovered from.
Right.
Yeah, it's clearly Dak Prescott. It hasn't been easy goings, and here we are at 11-4, second seed, NFC East champions that the coward Kirby doesn't want to face yet, but he'll face it soon. He'll face it soon. Love you, Kirby. I really do. But yeah, clearly Dak Prescott.
All right. Let's last but not least, let's do the coach. Let's do it.
Coach of the year. Can I throw in Mike McCarthy?
You can throw him in there. I wouldn't put him in the top of my list. I think he's on the list somewhere. But certainly,
I mean, he has to be.
Right.
I mean, but a guy can you nominate coordinators? Because I would love to throw Dan Quinn into this list for sure.
No, unfortunately, you cannot. I think it's only head coaches that are.
Because Dan Quinn has single-handedly flipped this Dallas defense into this powerhouse that it is right now.
And by the way, Matt Nagy won it 3 years ago. Just so we're clear. Did people forget about that? Because that's bad. But
I think they do. I think they forget a lot about that 12-4 season, the double doink game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would.
I would
bad
definitely luck in the season.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people forget that he was coach of the year at one point.
That's just I had to remember that, but
I totally forgot that he won coach of the year.
Bill Belichick to me, he's up there. What he's been able to do after. I mean, let's face it. Last year, the Patriots, a lot of people were out on them at the end of the season. As far as obviously the term dynasty being over, we knew that. I mean, we knew the dynasty was over. They weren't going to be the same without Tom Brady.
You hate to see it,
but that's a throwback. Woo. You hate to see it.
That was fantastic. That was a great time.
the Patriots had a lot of issues with COVID and injuries last year.
Mhm.
They basically were this year's Baltimore Ravens. They had so many like replacement players, guys from the practice squad having to play, and Cam Newton was, he was awful. He was awful. He didn't have, his presence was gone to what it used to be. Turned out to this year they draft Mac Jones. Obviously, we talked about Mac Jones. Already the fact that he's had such a great season.
Yep.
And Bill Belichick just doing what he does. And the impressive thing about him is that defense is solid once again. And let's face it, a lot of those years the Patriots won the Super Bowl. You can say they had Brady. Obviously, they had Gronk. They had before that they had Wes Welker. They had Randy Moss. Whatever. But that it always started with the defense for the Patriots. And to me, that's how Belichick started his career. He was defensive coordinator.
Yep.
And that's where it all starts for me. And I think the fact that he's been able to turn this team around, show that, with a healthy roster and also with a healthy amount of spending and free agency, which the Patriots went insane this past offseason, it's paid off. It's paid off big time. And they put some real weapons around Mac Jones, and that defense has improved. I think it's Bill Belichick. But I also think you could argue Matt LaFleur, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
And what he's been able to do. But that's my pick.
You don't want to throw Harbaugh in there for the way he's kept the ship together somehow.
I think selfishly, yes, but usually the coach of the year, they're a comeback story, or they're a team that only loses 3 or 4 games. They win their division, whatever. The Ravens aren't there this year. So, if there was I don't know, keep their team shit together award for coaches, I think Harbaugh would definitely win that. But yeah, it's that's just not how the award is decided, unfortunately for John Harbaugh. But credit to him and what he's been able to do this season to keep the Ravens in it still amazingly. So
yeah, if I had it my way, I would put Dan Quinn in there, but obviously I can't have it my way. So I think Mike McCarthy should definitely be considered. Mm-hmm. I just don't really know who should win the award. I don't have a winner really, because I agree Bill Belichick, but just think Matt LaFleur has this really strong case. Andy Reid for the way he flipped this season around.
But you also have to consider it's a whole season award, right? So you have to
yeah. But what I'm saying is,
as well.
Then you can make the same case for Bill Belichick, because it's not like the Patriots started great either.
That's true.
For me, it's also just like the way Andy Reid weathered that early storm of bad play and then flipped it around.
Right.
And now look at where the Chiefs are back on top. And you can make the same case for Bill Belichick. It's not as if, and Bill right now, they're sitting at the 6th seed, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
So,
yep.
I don't know. This award is a little tougher, but I'm just surprised not a lot of people are throwing in Mike McCarthy. I understand there's a lot of Mike McCarthy haters out there. I'm more of a Mike McCarthy, I'm not stan, but I don't know, apologist. I don't know if that's the right word, but
you didn't like him for a while though. Is that
no, of course
true
not.
To say?
But I think the more we're starting to see more and more that he's more of just a CEO than he is he's more of delegation and just seeing the bigger picture and letting Kellen Moore and Dan Quinn see the smaller pictures with their respective sides of the ball, where he sees the overall vision, where and guides this team where it needs to go. Yeah, I would say throw Mike McCarthy in, because think about it, we were 6-10 last year. Now look at us, we're 11-4, fighting for the second seed right now. I would throw Mike McCarthy in, but I could definitely see the case for Matt LaFleur, for Bill Belichick, and for and Andy Reid.
And this is what makes this an even tougher award this year. And this is a recurring thing we repeat on this podcast. It's been a year where there's been a lot of parity in the NFL. There's a lot of teams that are sort of in the middle of the road. Just look at the playoff picture, like we talked about earlier. You have a lot of teams that are barely treading above 500 or a couple games above 500. So that makes it tough as well.
Yeah,
that makes it tough as well. So this is really an award I can't hammer down. But I believe it will be Bill Belichick. And we shall see. So there's that.
Yep.
All right. We'll take one final break. We're going to come back. We're going to do the hurry up offense and what to watch for in the second to last week of the National Football League season. We'll be right back.
Hey there, this is Mark Francis of Icon Real Estate. If you have any real estate needs in the Winchester surrounding area, including West Virginia, give me a call. I've got extensive experience, been in the business for almost 20 years, and would love to help you out. Track me down at Icon Real Estate, iconsells.com, or even give me a call, 540-247-1527. Again, Icon Sells, ICONSELLS.com, and I would love to chat with you and help you out. Give me a call.
Welcome back to the Kirby on Sports podcast. We're going to get into our final segment here, and this is one we call it the hurry up offense. We're really going to have to hurry today to get through this. This has been a long episode, but you know what? We've covered a lot of ground. Nothing wrong with that.
We added a couple extra segments. That's why.
We did. It still goes a little more smoothly without here. No, I'm just kidding.
The coward. He's not here. Face coward. My wrath, Kirby. Face me.
All right. I'm just gonna pick a random game and then we'll do the no hurry.
Go down the list.
The no hurry, Jesus. The no huddle. Hurry up offense.
The no huddle offense. Okay, let's go. We're not huddling.
We're gonna start at the other end. We usually do the first game, but let's go back to just last night because it is Tuesday when we are recording this. The Dolphins take down the Saints 20-3. Again, we talked about this, a shorthanded Saints team that's Ian Book never should have been an NFL quarterback. But I really don't have much to say about this game. This was a game that it would have been embarrassing for the Dolphins to lose. They would have likely ended their playoff chances, and they were able to hold on and take care of this win.
Yeah, it's same thing. It would have been embarrassing for Miami to lose this one. But again, like I said, their 7-game win streak, you just got to really look into it. It's not as impressive as it seems. But hey, they're winning these games, and that's the important thing. So good on Miami.
The Bengals at home, they shake, rattle, and roll the Baltimore Ravens. This was a very, very tough game for the Ravens. 41-21, Joe Burrow, 525 yards and 4 touchdowns. I mean, just insanity. And T. Higgins, almost 200 receiving yards. They really took advantage of those practice squad secondary that the Ravens had out there. And credit Joe Burrow. I mean, he was great in this game, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Burrow's going to do Joe Burrow things. I mean, sucks for Baltimore. Like we talked about before we recorded the show. I just feel like Baltimore's just lost too much. They're too far gone.
Yeah,
it's just John Harbaugh can only keep the team.
He can only do so much.
He can only keep this team like the next man up mentality for so long. But when you're down to your practice squad players, it's tough. But good win for the Bengals.
Yeah, and they're going to be a dangerous team moving forward in the next 5+ years in that division if they
just
got to
get
core.
Joey Burrow some damn protection.
Still, yeah, and you know what? Still throwing in the fourth quarter and taking a lot of hits. I don't like that. I don't like that one bit. So
I don't either.
And not just like say, hey, you're rubbing it in. I'm not a fan.
Yep.
All right, the Bills. They took down the Patriots 33-21. Rough game for Mac Jones and company. He looked uncomfortable, and the Bills put their foot down in that AFC East race.
Yeah, I mean, big win for the Bills. They definitely needed this because, like we were saying after they lost to the Patriots, a couple what was it, 2-3 weeks ago now? Yeah, like we said, it was. Their playoff hosts were on life support, and then they lost to the Buccaneers. But looks like they found something in that second half against the Buccaneers, and they've been riding that wave. And hey, now they're back in control of the division, so that's all that matters. And for the Patriots, 2-game skid. It's time for Bill to put his foot down and get this team back in winning ways.
And if anyone can respond, it's like I said earlier, it's Bill Belichick. Yeah, and the Bills are looking good, and this is the right time for them to sort of get going a little roll here. So we'll see what happens. This game, we could probably just skip it. The Falcons at home, they take down the Lions 20-16. The Lions, poor pitiful Lions. I don't know who Tim Boyle is, but apparently he was the quarterback in this game, or the quarterback who had the most numbers. Again, I don't know.
See, I didn't even know Jared Goff got hurt. So.
Yeah. I didn't either until now.
I didn't know. So skip next, whatever. Who cares? These teams are terrible.
We can skip this next game. The Jets take down the Jags at home, 26-21. I mean, I told my dad this was the McDonald's bathroom toilet bowl, and my dad thought it was funny. But yeah, who cares? A 4-win team beats a 2-win team. Who gives a shit?
These games don't matter.
Zach Wilson, he doesn't impress me at all, really.
Nope.
All right, upset of the week. The Texans at home, they knock off the Chargers 41-29. Davis Mills had a really solid game. He threw for 250 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Herbert was average in this game. I mean, the Texans defense stepped up and played really well when they had to. And how about Rex Burkhead, also for the Texans, 150 yards. First of all, didn't know he was still in the league. So just learned that today. And 2 touchdowns for him. So the Texans played spoiler a little bit as for right now, they knocked the Chargers out of the playoffs, like we talked about earlier.
Yep. Big game for the Texans. Davis Mills, of course, the guy who would have been New England's draft pick had they not gotten Mac Jones. Really showed something in this game. I'm not going to lie. Yep. But yeah, Burkhead having that big game was just backbreaking. Of course,
unbelievable.
The Chargers, we have to preface, they were missing Mike Williams due to COVID. Their running back. What's the running back's name again?
Sony Michel?
No, not Sony Michel. That's
Sony Michel, the other one. Oh, we're talking about Chargers. Damn it. See?
Yep, the quad father. His name escapes me. I know which one.
Hold on. We'll find this out real fast. Of course, my internet's going to be slow.
Oh my God. His name escapes me right now. I'm so bad at names.
Oh, of course. It's Austin Eckler.
Yes, Austin Eckler. I knew it started with an A. I just couldn't remember. Austin Eckler. He was out too. They still had Keenan Allen. I really don't understand how the Chargers lost this game, but they lost this game. Huge loss, but things are a little more optimistic still because it does seem like one of these teams that are in front of them are at least going to lose, or both are going to lose at least one game, and that's all they need.
Yeah, the Rams, they go on the road in Minnesota, take down the Vikings 30-23. Vikings are a scrappy team.
They are.
They've been in a ton of close games this year, games they've both
all
won and
close
lost.
Games.
Yeah, pretty much. And the Rams increase. Yeah, and the Rams keep winning.
Not a good game, though. Not a good game for the Rams. Not a good game for Matthew Stafford. Very concerning. He was like one touchdown, like 3 interceptions, if I remember correctly. A lot of jokes being made, like you can take Stafford out of Detroit, but you can't take the Detroit out of Stafford. He's just not – he hasn't been playing well the past couple of weeks, and that should be concerning for the Rams. They're getting it done, but they should be dominating more than what they are.
Totally agree. And the Vikings still in the playoff chase. We'll see if they can. We'll see if they can win the last couple games and get in. Now we can just skip this next game if you want. Eagles at home take down the Giants 34-10. Is there anything to talk about in this game?
I've got a bone to pick with the mainstream media they keep trying to sell that the Eagles are a good team, that they're impressive. They beat on the freaking Giants. I'm not impressed. Everybody beats on the Giants. Okay. They're not a good team. And God bless those Giants fans, because they got to deal with another year of Daniel Jones and Joe Judge again. I mean, I understand we're rivals, but I feel bad. I feel bad for them that they have to see that mess. And for just stop trying to sell that the Eagles are good. You're going to see what happens in week 18. Dallas is going to crush them. We're going to expose them for who they are again. They're not they're not anything. That's my bone to pick.
Yeah, and it's easy to beat the other team when, Saquon Barkley only gets 32 rushing yards too.
Fair
So
enough.
that also helps. Yeah, I have nothing to add with this game. It's Mike Glennon. Another guy I'm like, how is he still in the NFL? But he is. Here he is. He's in the NFL.
Mike Glennon, and
I'm
then
not.
they ended up bringing Jake Fromm in like the third quarter.
Fromm was bad too.
Did nothing.
Sheesh. Another guy who never should have gotten in the NFL, but that's just me. All right, the next game. This game was a blowout. The Buccaneers take care of the Panthers, no problem. On the road in Charlotte, 32-6. I mean, this was a mismatch on paper, and this was a mismatch on the field as well.
The Panthers did a weird quarterback by committee thing. They had Cam in, and they would have Darnold in. It made no sense. But hey, Bucks back on. They're back on track. They dominated. Of course, they're still missing. They're missing 3 key offensive players with, Mike Evans and Godwin, of course, who's out for the season, and Leonard Fournette. But hey, they still got it done. Antonio Brown's back. That's huge for Brady. So,
and is this next win enough to keep the job of one Matt Nagy as the Bears go to Seattle and take down the Seahawks 25-24? Came down to the end. The Bears, you got to give them credit. They were able to pull this win out. The Seahawks are done. And you start to question the future of Seattle at this point, especially we talked about Russell Wilson. Will he stay next year? What about Pete Carroll? There's a lot of questions surrounding the Seahawks team. And, that this was just a brutal, brutal loss for them.
Yeah, I think this era of Seattle football is done. I don't think Russell's coming back. But I don't really know what team really wants to pick Russell up because he hasn't looked good this whole season. Granted, he's been injured, but still, it doesn't look great. This isn't helping his stock. It's not saving Matt Nagy's job. Matt Nagy's done at the end of the season.
I was being sarcastic.
Yeah, this is being a terrible. We got a Nick Foles sighting though. Nick Foles pulling miracles out of his butt again. I don't know how the hell they keep doing this, and why. I don't know how he keeps doing this. I don't know how, but hey, they did it. They got the win, but ultimately this game didn't matter for anything. They both got eliminated from the playoff contention. So
yeah, I'm with you there. I'm with you. There's really nothing else to say. All right, the Raiders, a defensive battle in Vegas as they pull out the win, 17-13 over the Broncos. Drew Lock
stinks.
He stinks.
Why is he still in the league? Just quit. You're not good. You'll never be the franchise. I still can't believe they tried to sell him as Patrick Mahomes at one point. Terrible.
I got nothing to say. I've got nothing to say. Josh Jacobs had a nice game. Always like rooting for that guy.
But hey, it was because of this game. I have to thank. I do have to thank them because this is the game that gave Dallas the NFC East championship. Yes.
Once again,
and the coward Kirby, of course, is not here to see me. It's okay.
Oh, he'll see you next week. You just have to repeat it again. I'd be down.
Oh,
all right, the Chiefs manhandle the Steelers. Pittsburgh rolls into Arrowhead Stadium, and tell you what, Kansas City, they are getting super hot right now. They are a blazing comet right now.
We did this without Travis Kelce too.
Mm-hmm. So Byron Pringle had a fantastic game for you guys.
Pringle had a great game, which is good. This Kansas City defense is looking great. Also, they've been looking good. Finally, the offense is catching up, which is it's kind of a mirror image to what's going on with Dallas. Now the offense is starting to catch up to the defense. Fantastic win. Ben Roethlisberger, it's time. It's time. Don't even, and I think he knows it's time. It's time.
He's already indicated this is probably going to be the way he's performed this year. Yeah. He's got nothing left. He's got nothing left.
It's time. It's over. But good win for the Chiefs.
I agree. This next game, it's going to make you very happy. As we already talked about, Dallas absolutely demolishes, embarrasses.
Demolition job. It was a murder. There was a murder at AT&T Stadium. They brought their own benches and were fighting them amongst themselves on their benches.
But they've got a damn good culture, Carlos. Don't forget.
Yeah, great culture you guys got there. It's
just 56-14. This to me is worse than the Monday Night Massacre that all the Washington fans, is this worse? Is this worse? Like Kirby said about 100 times on social media. Yes, this game was worse. This was the most complete game I've ever seen. We dominated them on offense, on defense, on special teams. All three areas.
Dak Prescott throws a touchdown pass to a tight end, an offensive lineman, a wide receiver, and a running back. No, I don't think he did running back. Did he running back?
I have to check. Give me a minute.
I can't remember the tweet.
Check the old box score because I can't remember either.
Might have done running back. I can't remember. Long story short, he was throwing. He was like Oprah out there. You get a touchdown. You get a touchdown. You get a touchdown. I mean, my Lord, what an absolute demolition job.
Yes, Zeke had a touchdown catch.
But was it a catch or was it a carry?
It was a catch.
Okay, so he did have. So he threw it to pretty much anybody you could throw it to. He threw it to.
Offensive tackle too. Your offensive tackle caught a touchdown.
Good old was it Terrence Steele? Yeah, it was Terrence Steele who caught it. Big man touchdown. DeMarcus Lawrence with the thick six. That was so athletic. It was so great.
Thick six.
And then of course, Taylor Heineke being an idiot, trying to test Trayvon Diggs on his first pass. It was the second play. But it was his first pass because the first play they ran it. Then he tries to test Trayvon Diggs, and Diggs he didn't even care. He was like, "That's mine." And 11 picks.
That set the tone. That set the tone for the game.
Set the tone, and it was just from there. It was just demolition job. Great win for Dallas. We are champions, baby. We're champions. And
Washington
Kirby was too cowardly to face me. If you guys come at the Kings, you best not miss because we're back on the throne where we belong. The class of the AFC, the NFC East. We are the star of the show. There's a reason why the star is our logo because we are the greatest NFC East team there
I had to stop for a second.
I had to stop for myself because we don't have the most Super Bowls anymore, so I can't claim that.
I just wanted to make one little comment about Washington. I mean, we've talked a lot about their off the field issues with their owner, their previous general manager. They are a mess of a franchise still, and until Daniel Snyder gets investigated fully and charged fully for his act,
hang on team,
sell the team, release the report. Their Congress is still investigating. Obviously, we talked to Megan about that. She was on our show. Probably a couple months ago now. I can't remember exactly when.
It was last month, I think.
Yeah, it's just one.
Was that last month or October? It was one of the two. It's been a little.
That's what I mean. It was either a month or two ago. Anyway,
time moves differently.
Release the damn report. I'm not going to tell people to boycott watching Washington.
They're already boycotting Washington. I mean, we went to the game when we went to go see Kansas City and Washington play. How many more Chiefs fans were there than there were Washington fans?
Well, I don't know if it's as much of a. Well, I guess it goes both ways. I mean, you have people who, number one, the to spend the money is ridiculous.
It's so dang on expensive.
And getting there's a pain in the ass.
Nightmare.
We've talked about all this stuff before, but
yeah.
Their team is a mess. The culture is a mess, and that showed when you have two players going after each other. I saw some of the stuff after the game. All their friends, they're good friends. They're like brothers or whatever. That was a vicious punch, and it's a good thing it didn't connect.
Yeah,
because that was a hell of a punch that guy.
And threw. I understand why. Because it was Allen who threw the punch, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
I understand Allen. Why you don't touch another grown man's face. You don't do that,
especially near his eye. Yeah.
You don't do that. So I understand his reaction, but it's just not a good look. Mm-hmm. I understand there are things that you're going to say. You're frustrated. You guys are getting, dominated. I understand that, but that it's not a good look. There's cameras everywhere. It's going to get caught.
Exactly.
It just doesn't look. And now that's the story. and one more thing. Washington made a big hoopla about Dallas bringing their benches to Washington. Why are they bringing their benches to Dallas in a controlled environment stadium? Why you don't need heated? I understand
because they're petty.
I love that Mike McCarthy and Ron Rivera have made this rivalry kind of a rivalry again. But I mean, this is honestly the way this game went was how the first game should have gone.
Mm-hmm.
Defensively, we dominated them in the first game. Offensively, we just couldn't get it going. This time around, it was different. We got it going offensively, defensively, and on special teams. And this is how it is.
Yeah.
So, good win for Dallas. Obviously, it's not as if Washington's world beaters, but any win against
when
Washington.
You beat your rival, it means something,
yeah.
Especially when you beat them in the way that you all did. You won by 42 points. One of the biggest blowouts I've seen maybe ever between two rivalries or two teams in the same division.
And it got us the crowd. We're a champ. Well, it didn't actually. We already had won it, but still, it solidified why we are the champions of the East. It solidified the reason. And Kirby, you coward, you didn't want to face the kings of the East. We are the East. All right.
One last game. Let's hurry through this because the hurry up offense has been rather slow today.
It has.
The Colts go on the road. They beat the Cardinals. Nice win for the Colts, 22-16. The Cardinals again. I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not sold on them. They've had too many bumps in the road this season. Yeah.
I've never been sold on, and I've been saying it all season. There's just something about them, and obviously losing DeAndre Hopkins is a huge loss, and I understand that. But just something about them, I never trusted them, and now look where they went from, contending for the 1 seed to now they're fighting to even win their division. They're not even leading their division, so, I mean. And it's not like they have an easy game. I mean, they got Dallas, and Dallas is hot right now. So for the Colts, huge win. I mean, they started off the season rough, and they've completely turned it around where now they're in playoff contention, but it's going to be tough for them, especially now that they've lost Carson Wentz. But Jonathan Taylor now has an opportunity to really, really show why he should be MVP, like we said earlier.
Is Phillip Rivers coming out of his high school coaching?
No, because New Orleans tried to get him out and they couldn't.
Well, I wouldn't go to New Orleans either. They're kind of a mess anyway. All right, Carlos, let's move on here. We got one last little segment here. We're going to see what to watch for here in this almost the end here, week 17. This would be the final week
This would be the final week, but
in a normal season. But now we have an extra week this year.
Yes.
So week 17, Carlos, what are you looking out for?
A couple of things. We obviously have the college football semifinal playoff games. I don't really know if I'm going to actually be watching those because I'll probably be celebrating New Year's.
That really hasn't been, in my opinion, advertised well. Like
it hasn't really been in the public consciousness lately.
Yeah.
And I think it's just because the NFL has just been so on fire lately.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the games have been lackluster, just the parity of the year where everybody's so close. The college football playoff has kind of flown under the radar. I will say, and of course, NFL wise, I mean, come on, it's Cowboys Cardinals. We got the freshly crowned champs of the East.
Yeah.
Against
here we go again. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, against the a potential playoff opponent that we might see him again in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And this will be a good barometer to see where Dallas is at. And obviously we're fighting for the 2nd seed and they're fighting for their division. So it'll be a very competitive game. And I'm excited for that. What about you?
Yeah, that's a good pick. I think for me, I'm looking at Chiefs Bengals. I think that's a solid matchup. You have the Chiefs obviously trying to continue to get to flex their muscles and continue to stay on a hot streak that they've been on and keep their grip on that number 1 seed, which I think they will. And you have the Bengals who are trying to make sure they keep that division locked up. The AFC North is currently number 3 seed. Obviously that plays a lot into what the Ravens, if the Ravens are able to upset the Rams and the Bengals lose, all of a sudden, they're neck and neck again. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be a fun week. Week 17, we're coming down to the end of the season. There's going to be a lot more stuff sorted out in these last couple weeks.
So close. We're so
crazy.
close to the end. I can see the finish line. And then we got playoffs, which is what I'm so excited for.
Amen, brother.
Before we sign off, once again, rest in peace, John Madden.
Rest in peace, John Madden. We'll go through all the stuff we have to get through here because, we have a list of things I have to do. Carlos knows what I'm talking about.
Yep.
But first and foremost, we definitely want to thank our sponsors, the Trumbull Insurance Agency, Regroup Building Services, PM Plus Reserves, Shenandoah Primitives, and Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate. As you know, visit the KirbyOnSports.com for all your podcast gear, or not gear, but all your podcast.
I'm pretty sure it has a link to the store if you want to buy a shirt or a hat.
It's been a while since I've been on that website, and I should probably not say that out loud, but yes. And you can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. So there you go. Keep that
Spotify,
simple.
Apple Music.
Carlos,
rate and leave us a review.
Please do. I do like going through and reading some of the reviews. Now, some of them are repeat customers. We'd like to have some different voices in there. So
yeah, it also helps
you listen to us there. Give us
it also helps us reach more people if you do that. So
absolutely agree, Carlos. Carlos, the Swiss Army knife, fantastic co-host. It was an honor and a privilege serving with you today. That sounded terrible, like we're some sort of army or something. But seriously, Carlos, thank you very much for coming on today. It was fun.
Oh, it was a great time. Champions, baby. Face me, Kirby. Face me, you coward. You aimed at the king and you missed. You will regret that decision for the rest of your life. All right, I'm done.
That was a good finish. That was a villain speech right there.
It was. I'm playing heel now. If we're going by wrestling terms. I mean, I have a wrestling belt. By the way, for the people listening, I have a belt.
It's a WWE belt.
It's a WWE belt. So
I like it though. It looks really good.
It is. It's pretty fantastic.
All right. So for the Swiss Army knife, Carlos Martinez, I'm the Weapon Dan Dembski, filling in for Josh Kirby. He will hopefully be back next week. But till the next time you hear our voices, always remember to create greatness. Have a happy new year, everyone. Safe and healthy. Happy New Year. And peace out.